Ladies and gentlemen, I received a donation with a question about mental health hospitals. And a case study is Vancouver, where they shut down the mental health hospital, and now the homeless rate in the city's gone up quite a lot, and there's a drug area and a needle area and stuff like that. And aren't we all better off, even the homeless people, if the government just starts this program? Well, first of all, that can't be the question. Are we better off if the government does X, Y, or Z? Even if we all agree that we're better off with the government doing X, Y, or Z, it still doesn't mean the government should have the power to do X, Y, or Z. Outside the field of protecting rights, the government shouldn't do anything at all. But the question would be, is it a danger to people's rights to the point where the state should step in and do something? Like if a person is a danger to people's rights, we put him in jail. And if a person is so crazy he's a danger to people's rights, you have to have something to do with him. So, if it comes to a question of rights, yes, there should be establishments to put people who are a danger to other people. But even in America, I think this happened in the 80s and 90s because of lawsuits, because people get put in these mental hospitals and can't get out because they're defined as mentally incompetent. And so there was big scandals about them, and in the 80s and 90s, apparently in Canada as well as America, they've shut down a lot of the state mental hospitals, with the result that homeless populations have gone up and the number of schizophrenics living on the streets has gone way up. Well, the thing about this is it's a legitimate problem, but why would we say that the government should do something? Why don't you, as a citizen who is, say you're a bus driver, and you get a good salary, and you've been with the company 15 years, you pay your bills, and you enjoy your time off and stuff, why don't you give up your job, which doesn't mean much to you besides a paycheck, and start a homeless shelter and see if you can even make it pay? If you can get the homeless people to help to do things or to make things, run a license plate factory or something. Why don't you do something to try to help them? Why make the government or ask the government to do it? Why tell the government to do it? Now, this is on the background, especially, that I say there should be no forced taxation. Taxation should be voluntary. So we should give to the government what we think the government needs, and the government should ask on whatever grounds it can. You know, if there's a war, it's obviously going to need more, but forced taxation should be an extreme measure that should be like the removal of habeas corpus. You know, it can be done, but it's an extreme measure for extreme circumstances, and it should be for a very limited amount of time. On that background, no, the government shouldn't have money to do anything with health hospitals, mental health hospitals. It should have jail cells and appropriate psychiatric treatment, if that's available, medicine maybe for people that are crazy and get locked up. But the real question is violation of rights, not having sidewalks free of bums. And the sidewalks shouldn't be owned by the state either. They should be owned by private companies. So the answer is get the state out of things, don't bring them more into it. And us, the citizenry, we are the ones that should do something about it. If we don't like the homeless problem, we should start soup kitchens or whatever. Go start a soup kitchen and try to make money off it if you can. These people aren't going to give you any money because they don't have a lot. And if they did, they probably have other priorities to spend it on than food, because there are places all over the place that give out food and free housing and stuff like that. So good luck if you want to do something about the homeless problem, but don't tell the government to get in my pocket to do anything about it. I think it's a tragedy. I have a schizophrenic brother myself who my mother tried for years, lobbied the legislature for years with part of a little group to try to get mandatory life sentences for people that were life sentences in mental hospitals, but not prisons, for people who were judged schizophrenic or whatever. And I always said to her, you know, it's none of your business. The question is someone's rights being violated? Not, do you want your son to be available to you? She wanted to be able to visit and talk to her son, She can't now because he's crazy and he's run off somewhere and doesn't communicate with the family and he has hallucinations and stuff. It's a sad fact, but we can't allow the government to reach further and further into our lives every time we have something that bothers us. So, as private citizens, we need to do something about it. That's the answer.